just 15% of our ads are responsible for 86% of all ad revenue. Today, I'm going to walk you through why advertising is a volume game and the number one metric you're not measuring, but is crucially important to figure out your profitability and how well your ads are actually working. This is what real media buyers actually measure. So let's jump into this. First, I'm going to be going through the Perspective ad tool now. If you want a copy of this tool, it's completely free, no email required. Just click the link below to get it. And in this data set, I have about 1,000 ads worth of real data, representing almost $1 million in spend and a couple million, I believe, in revenue. As you can see, each one of these rows is an ad, and this table is populating based off the ad percentile. And as we can see, just 5% of ads are responsible for 55% of all ad spend. So we can see that most of the spend is allocated to only a few ads. 15% of all ads are responsible for 86% of all revenue, and 16% of ads are responsible for 85% of all purchases. So again, we see that it is a normal distribution. A very small subset of ads are responsible for most of the results. And with this data, we can actually calculate our win rate and figure out how much it's going to cost us to get to our next winning ad, not only from a testing ad spend point of view, but also a production cost point of view. How many ads are we going to have to pay to get produced that are going to fail before we get our next outlier winner? So let's actually look at this visually. So these are ads. Each dot represents a single ad. And we can look at the percentile ranking of all of these ads. Now this is showing most of the ads here, and we can see a few significantly outperformed. So one ad got over 200,000 in ad revenue, another around 175,000 in ad revenue, and another down here at around 95,000 in ad revenue. And when we start to zoom in more and more, we look at the top 5% of ads. You can see that the top 5% of ads even have a wild distribution. We see a lot of ads generated $50,000 in revenue, and only a few were up at the 150 to 200 plus K revenue generation. So most of your results will typically come from only a few ads. And this is looking at revenue, but we can also look at spend. So let's look at the spend level. A similar story, a few ads are responsible for most of the spend at 40,000 plus or 30,000 plus in ad spend. And of course, same is true for CPA, which is going to be kind of an opposite story. We want to look at ads that have the lowest CPA. And we can look at ads on a ROAS side too, which ads have the highest ROAS. Of course, this isn't indicative of any volume, but we can see what that typical distribution looks like, right? So what we find is you're really hunting for outliers. There is no reality where only a few ads don't get all the spend. It's very uncommon that at scale, spend is evenly distributed and revenue is evenly distributed among all your ads. It's really the top 1% of ads that generate all the purchases. So this is the top 1% here. We have like 10 ads in this set, and these are responsible for a couple hundred purchases each. And if we look at the revenue again, we can see that the top 1% of ads are responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. Just this set is about a little over $1 million in revenue. And that's the top 1%. But when we look at all the ads, pulling in the 99th percentile, we can see that most make almost no revenue, and most really never even spend. Most spend pretty much zero, right? So let's get into this a little bit deeper. We can see that there's 10 ads that are in the top 1%, okay? 10 ads, they get 24% of all spend, okay? And those 10 ads are responsible for 27% of all revenue, and those 10 ads are responsible for 26% of all purchases. So if you had a choice, you would want to only ever get an ad like one of these top 10. That would be ideal, right? Because we can see in this chart here, and again, these are percentiles, right? Going in about 5% increments. We can see that the ads that do anything, the ads that generate any revenue, pretty much there's 348 ads that generate all the revenue. They generate 99% of the revenue. And 398 ads generate 100% or pretty much all of the revenue. And this is the 60th percentile. But the rest of the ads, the other 345 ads or so, generate no extra revenue. So we can see that 300 and something ads never even spent. They're in the bottom 40th, 50th percentile. And the same is true for purchases and CPA, on and on and on. But by looking at this, we can start to understand, wow, how reliant our ad account is on only 10 to 60 ads for 75, 80% of the revenue and spend. and that most of the ads we launch are responsible for no extra revenue, very little spend, right? At the 40th percentile here, we pretty much already capped out on spend. And the same is true for ROAS, CPA, and purchases, right? So let's actually look at some different stats here, right? Let's start to understand what that looks like. So when we look at the averages, we look at the mean of our ads, all that good stuff, we can see that the average ad only has 5 purchases. Our average ad, when we're looking at mean, only has around $1,000 in spend. And when we're looking at the median, so the middle 50th percentile, we see that ads on average have 0 purchases or $0 in revenue and $100 in spend, right? With a massive deviation. So again, looking at the standard deviation, right? Kind of the swing from the lowest to the biggest ad, we can see that there's almost a $3,000 spend deviation, a 14K revenue deviation, on and on and on. It is good to see that, our average ROAS is about a 3 in this account, even across all those ads that spend 0 and have essentially a 0 ROAS in that case, or a no ROAS, a null value. But overall, we can see that with about $1 million in spend and almost $4 million in revenue, that is pretty much all reliant on just a few assets. So what does this mean for you? Number one, it means realizing that when you are trying to find a winner, what do you actually classify as a winner? And this tool actually helps you figure that out. So a winner for us is an ad, and this tool, you define it for the tool, is an ad that spends at least $1,000, an ad that makes at least $3,000 revenue, and an ad that gets at least 5 purchases. For us, this would be considered a winning ad, okay? And we can see that about 16% of the time this happens. So our winners, we have a 16% hit rate. So we're gonna have to make quite a few ads in order to get a winner. And our average ad, if we're going to give ourselves a definition of average, we're just letting the average equation figure this out for us. And same thing for the median. But it's really important to kind of be realistic and actually look at what your ad distribution looks like so you can calculate a winning ad. And we know that with our definition of a winner that was determined by this model only has a 16% hit rate, we know how many ads and how much it's going to cost us. If it cost us $1 to produce each ad, we're going to spend quite a few dollars to get our first winner. And so it's very important for you to understand what your hit rate looks like for your winner and how much it costs on the creative production side to get to your next winner. And of course, how many dollars you're going to need to test each of those assets and waste before you find that next winning outlier. Because in many cases, a true winner, an ad that drives an ad account, is going to be 1 of 10, maybe 1 of 80. But it is an extreme distribution where the 1% do all of the work, okay? So if you want to figure out what a winning ad is for you and look at your ad distribution to see how reliant you are on just a few ads and figure out in general what you need to do in order to get more winners, go ahead, check out the prospective ad table. Link is below. It's really easy. All you have to do is export your data. I show you how in this video, and then you can look at your distribution, understand your risk tolerance, and figure out what a winning ad is for you, your hit rate, and how much it's going to cost to get to your next winning ad, so you can adjust your creative team, your finance team, and ultimately your media buying team appropriately. All right, I hope that's helpful. Catch you in the next video.